excited to have you join me on this YouTube live session. Once again, my name is James Udom, and welcome to my Career Chronicles. Basically, what we'll be doing on this channel is to interview young professionals who have been in different industries and different fields, and we just talk about how it is over there, what they do over there, what does it take to get there, what are the prospects in that industry. And today is the very first edition of this series of live interviews, and I'll be joined by Mr. Uduak Okon, who is of the Chevron Nigeria. And today we'll be talking about the oil and gas industry, career opportunities in the oil and gas industry. And I'm very hopeful that you're going to get so much value from this. And if you have any question, if you have any concerns, anything around that industry, feel free to ask. And something, yeah, I think our guest is almost here. Some, yeah, something very interesting about the oil and gas industry is the fact that it's an industry that everyone has the opportunity to join. Hey, Uduak, welcome, and super excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks, James
Yeah,
Udon. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you real quick. I'm not sure how your device is placed. Can you place it this other way around? Because it seems to put you on this in this direction. Yeah, let's see.
Does that make sense now?
No, I think you have to like turn the device and place it. Perfect. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
That's
Perfect.
right.
Yeah. I mean, I could have as well turned my own to fit in, but either way works. But now you've turned your own, and that works
That's
for
great.
us. Yep, right on time. And thank you for making it and joining us in this live session.
Thank
I'm super excited to have you, and we will be, we just dive into the business of the day. Like I was saying earlier, this conversation is basically to talk about like opportunities in the oil and gas industry. What does it take to get in? What does it take to stay there? How do you know where are these opportunities? All of that thing around the oil and gas industry, because sometimes people think that there is this special kind of thing that is reserved for some special kind of people. And but that's not really the case. Anybody can get in, so those are the kind of things we want to talk about today. And there is also something around maybe only people that did engineering. I mean, I know you did engineering, that are in
That's
the
right.
oil and gas industry, but we can see and we know that there are people who did all kinds of things. There are different departments and all of that within the industry. So it means there's an opportunity for everyone. So yeah, and for those of you joining us live, super excited to have every one of you. I can see people joining us live. So if you have your questions, you can just leave it in the comment section, and then we can as well address it in the course of the session. So, Mr. Uduak, we will be going from, I love to start from the very beginning. Yeah. Because I said in my introductory video, someone is about to go to your LinkedIn profile now and see that Mr. Uduak is in Chevron Nigeria, is in this, is in that, and all of that. But to every story, there is the inside story. There is always
Exactly.
that thing they call how they started. But most people don't see how they started, they only see where they are. So I would rather want to go down to how they started. So my first question for you today is, how did you start? Let me give a perspective to that. Like I'm talking about, where did you do your primary school? Where did you grow up? Which village? Or you grew up in the city? Those kind of things. That's what I want to hear. So over to you, sir.
Okay. Once again, James Udon, you're also an engineer. I know you studied engineering, so again, good to meet you in person after over 5 years, yeah, or
Uh-huh.
more, right? So,
Uh-huh.
for my viewers, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining in from. Like rightly pointed out by the host, James, my name is Okon Uduak. I studied petroleum and gas engineering. So my career chronicles, looking up the word chronicles, it actually has to do with a written order of events from perhaps the beginning till the way as it progresses to where you find yourself or where you are. So chronologically, I did my primary school in the state called River State, city called Port Harcourt in South Nigeria, right? In a locality called Ada George. That's where I grew up. So I'm born into a family of six. I'm from Akwa Ibom State, Mpatani local government area, Kotepenyon precisely, right? So growing up, I studied in Zoe Progressive Education Center. It's one of the suburbs primary school around Adajod where I grew up. I'm sure the school is still there today. And then I progressed from there to Zion International High School. A couple of us who are from Port Harcourt or joining from Port Harcourt to know these places I'm calling. Zion International High School. The name used to be Century International Academy as when I was in school before it was changed to. But however, my last year in high school, I had to join Kate International School. That was where I took my first secondary education certification. That's what we call SSC. That's Nigerian National Education Council or WAEC, the two of them. So that's where I took them. And then I grew up in a family from the middle class or the lower class, let me put it that way. So typical of every Nigerian who's from middle class, of course, maybe your mom has a business or your dad has a business, so you definitely be supporting them in one way or the other in the business. So I got to grow up in that kind of setting. And everyone in the neighborhood, Ada George, loved me so much. In fact, my name became a bus stop in Ada George. When you're coming from my three axis, people say, Uduak shop, Uduak mama shop. That became a global, a bus stop. Everybody knew that, right? So then in that neighborhood, parents were like, okay, they always point their children to me because I was humble looking. I'm sure I'm still humble looking, Mr. James, right?
We'll find
So I
out.
was humble looking, right? And I was always in my mom's shop. And so people were like, if this guy would always be in the mother's shop, he's not a cult, he's not joining bad boys, sagging trousers and all of that. They were referring their children to be like me. So I grew up in that kind of setting. And then when it was time for me to move into the university, I actually had interest in law because I wanted to be a lawyer. I came across the word justice. I found the word, the meaning. Somebody is always making sure that everything is right across board for everyone. So I decided I was going to be a lawyer. And then my dream was to become the world justice. I didn't know if there was anything like that, if there was an international court and somebody would have to be a world justice. But while in SS1, that's a senior secondary school one, that's SS1, as we call it here, right? I was studying chemistry. I really loved chemistry and I also loved law and literature. So one of the chapters of Ababio's textbook, most of us will know that. I think it's chapter 22 or thereabout. It was focused on nuclear energy. So I saw a nuclear plant and I'm like, how this is very complex. Somebody designed this, people are working in this, what are they doing? So I always love demystifying complex things. So I was like, if people are here, I want to be in this place. That was how I shifted from law. And then I said, okay, it was going to be nuclear energy. So I started studying chemistry. In my secondary school, I had the best results I kept the best record. I don't know if anyone has broken it by now. So in secondary, in chemistry. So when I looked at it and I was like, okay, time for JAM. I looked up JAM and there was no Nigerian university doing nuclear energy. So what was next to it was the petroleum industry, looking at the petroleum refinery. So that was where my mind and my interest moved from nuclear energy to gas engineering, petroleum and gas engineering. So I took up my first JAM in 2009, 2008 rather. And then I got 273. I wrote it myself, so I got 273. Then there were no gadgets, there were no laptops, and internet were not that much, so you have to study your way. I used to go and study at a secondary school called the Rumokota Girls Secondary School. For those of us that know that artist, during when they're on break, I'll go there and then I'll study, and me and a couple of my friends then. So I didn't get that admission that period. After your JAM, you have to go to. For those of us who are not Nigerians, JAM means Joint Admission and Matriculation Board. So it's the admission body for people progressing from high school to the university in Nigeria, right? So in that context, I didn't get my post UTME results good. Let me put it that way. So I didn't get the admission. So I had to sit up again. And then I took a whole year. I didn't write JAM the next year. So I took a whole year to study and prepare for both JAM and post UTME. So I made sure that I bruised every type of past questions on Uniport post UTME. right? And University of Yoko's UTME, and then JAM. So I kept studying all of that for 1 full year. And then the next year I wrote JAM again. I got almost the same score, 270 instead of 273. So I had to ask myself, did you actually make progress? Last year you got 273 and this year you're getting 270. However, I turned out differently that in my post-UTME, I scored very high and on merit. So that's how I got into the university. Then into the university, studying gas engineering. I bumped up with some. I always loved being in the leadership position. In the secondary school years, transiting to university, I've held several positions in church, in Presbyterian Church of Nigeria. I used to be a youth president. I've always had this progression. I've always had this progression. I mean, love also for leadership because I understand that everything revolves around leadership. And one of the books that I read was Ben Carson's and Think Big. That opened up my mind, and I want to recommend it to every person here. If you've not read it, go and read it. And if you have, please maybe try and make sure you get it across to younger folks. It opened up my mind, and several other books, right? So that was where I started thinking big and seeing that I can be anything. I can become anything if I put in the right measures of work and effort, irrespective of whether I have uncles there or not. So it has always been for me a self-made success. Nobody's self-made anyway. I mean, from my own ideology, there is a God factor, and then there are, I mean, networks here and there, and all of that. Somebody has to lift your hand up. So I believe in that. So in the university, that's where I met my host here. I think I was in my third year when you joined the university then. So I was a course rep in gas engineering, and he was also a course rep. So this is a discussion of leaders. Let me come. Let me begin with that.
I agree.
Okay, so I got in from there, and then after the university days, we're going for NYC as this thing would be National Youth Service Corps. And so a lot of persons were like, working out how they would posted to a very good city. That was not my interest. I've always had this interest that whatever it is that's naturally mine will come. So when it was time, I selected the states that I preferred. And a lot of persons were like, okay, I want to go to Abuja, I want to go to Lagos so that after there I'll get opportunities for job. I just feel these places. I didn't have any preference. I said, okay, it's just this for whichever comes up. And then I was posted to the National Assembly. And in National Assembly, I was then posted to the Committee on Petroleum Industry Bills. So you see how naturally everything aligned. I didn't have to go and wet any hands or rub any back for me to get anything. So it's actually possible for anyone to become whatever you want to become. I mean, with the right mindset, with the right skills, with the right tools in your hands, you can become any of these things. So
Thank,
in
thank
moving
you.
forward,
I'm going to bring you back there, but I want us to take 2 steps backward a bit before we come back to that point again. So there is
okay.
this. I did the period after my secondary school. I also moved to Port Harcourt, and then before I now joined the University of Port Harcourt. So there is this. I don't know whether it's a bias or it's just an idea or just a thought or whatever. But I mean, sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not true. That Port Harcourt people are ras people, they are crazy people. All of those kind of things. You know what I'm talking about. So my question to you, and going by the place you say you grew up in, Adajosh, those are like, some of the funny hotspots in Port Harcourt. I don't know what name you want to call it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So the question I want us to step back, and then we'll come back to this point from NYSC again, is how were you able to like navigate all of that? I mean, there could be a bunch of influence from cult activities, from bad gang and all of that, but you were just there, still going to your mother's store and just taking your academics seriously. So because there's a conception around things like that, people say, oh, because I grew up in Adajosh, that's why I have this. I mean, it might be valid, but I want to understand how that was not valid or how that was the opposite for you in your own case. It will be helpful to others
Okay,
before we proceed.
okay. Let me quickly handle that. So, right, I think it has a lot to do with parental value, family value, and parental guidance, and aside that, personal decision. My mom always pointed me to a bad guy, this is where it's going to end. My dad always pointed me to that. So I already know that when I see these persons or when I see people who are chasing after cultism, I saw them as people who didn't value their lives, right? And I saw them as people because I had this notion of being a world justice, so I wanted things to be done rightly. So if I wanted things to be done rightly, I shouldn't be a cultist going to, in the language of Port Harcourt, Wole people, in the language of Port Harcourt again, going to ras people out and take what doesn't belong to them. But I had experiences with these things, right? There was one day I was going through my tree one of those days, and some group of guys cornered me in one area called, is it, I can't really picture that area again anyway. And we're like, before I could know, I got a slap, and all of that. And the guy was like, are you not the one cloth you're wearing is actually mine. I bought it 2 days ago. I was like, what kind of thing is this one? A guy, don't be like this now. Calm down. This thing where they do. All of us know this thing. So I actually acted. I used to act like I am one of them because growing up in that neighborhood, I have people around me selling for my mom. Okay, let me put it this straight, right? My mom had a provision kind of stuff, so we sell drinks, right? And when I say drinks, beer, and let me be very transparent, beer and all those sort and provisions like daily goods. So those guys, when they come around, they speak their languages. They identify yourself. When you know what I'm saying, I mean my host. When they say identify yourself, so you start point orientation and all of that. So I used to pick those their orientations, and then I built on it. So if I go to a neighborhood and they say, "Oh, is this kind of people that have this area?" I know what to, to speak around there. So I didn't allow it to influence me because I made a decision to be a better person. It was a personal decision, and my mom held my hand so strong. Every day she takes us to church, takes me to church. Then I was the youngest in the family, so she takes me to church. And every time my church used to be in Rumomasi, so going from other church to Rumomasi, we pass through Shell location. And so when we pass through Shell location, my mom would say that is Shell, and my mind is open up. That was even in primary and secondary. I was like, I want to be in this place. I want to. So I was more or less focused. And then Ben Carson's book, a friend introduced me to it. Somebody gave me Think Big, and I was reading it, and then I got gifted hands from somebody who had gifted hands but didn't have Think Big. So the whole story of Ben Carson shaped my mindset as well too. He made me understand that you don't have to be a bad guy out there. You can work out and get things without stealing from people, without being the one that is molesting other persons, bullying other guys and all of that. So I didn't allow that, but I knew their languages. I could speak their language. I understood all of them. So in fact, when I have issues, I have people that I can tell, and they say, "Oh, Uduak na was small now. You don't have to. Nobody who did that. They can almost take up any matter for me." So, but I didn't allow it to become a thing for me because I had one focus. I knew God early. Maybe that was a factor for those of us who believe in God. That was a factor. The family values as well, right,
Mm-hmm.
and personal decision, not to see people being hurt. So I think that is what actually helped me.
Okay, so three things I've picked here: personal values, personal decision, family values, and then the God factor. I mean, more like being trained in the Christian way. Perfect. So I'm going to jump right back to, we are going to go real quick to how do I get into the industry and all of that. But before we
Okay.
get into that, let me jump right back to the period from after your NYSC or your NYSC. You did your NYSC in at the National Assembly, the Petroleum Subcommittee, and all of that. So from that point, can you just walk us through from that point now to this
So
point?
we are
Yeah, and then we'll go into
okay.
the
From that
specific
point,
questions.
right? From that point, when I was in National Assembly, so I was part of those who drafted the petroleum industry bills. I mean, I worked in that committee, and the lead consultant was one of our lecturer in the university, Professor Wumi Iledare, right? So I got to connect with him again, and then that opened up my mind. But my interest was now in government parastatals, government petroleum parastatals, as at that period, right? Then in that government parastatal, I looked forward to Petroleum Technology Development Fund, PTDF, working there, or perhaps in NNPC and all the rest. But while I was still serving, I mean, after my service rather, from the National Assembly went on recess, and I was not directly employed 2 years after I finished because this person I was working with, the senator I was working with then, had moved out to contest for governorship and then he didn't succeed. So he was not there. My principal was not there. So I had to step back. I know that, okay, I'm no more here. Now I have to ask myself, what do I want? Or what are the tools I have in my hands? I realized I can teach. I could teach chemistry, physics, maths, and English. So I started a tutorial in the city of Abuja, where I was then, in an estate called Trademore Estate, right? And I started a tutorial there. I was training, teaching primary, secondary folks, preparing them for JAM. I had a couple of students. Just like, you used to have a boot camp every Christmas, you always hold the boot camp. And so I wanted to actually mentor. I realized in that city that they had fine schools, but they didn't have actually good teachers, or students weren't really impacted the way they should be. But when I asked them questions, the ones around me, I realized that they didn't really know so much. That was the precursor for me to start that tutorial. And that also was a source of income because you have to survive, right? So it was in that process a parent of one of my students met me and like, wow, my child, you have actually brought him up to speed in less than no time. And so, okay, go and register for this. She opened up my eyes, my mind to the opportunities in oil and gas. I'm going to share that with everyone here. That's the Nigerian Content Development Monitoring Board, NCDMB. They have what we call the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Chronologic JQS, Joint Qualification System, right? So you can Google it, right? That is where they conduct trainings, or they schedule for trainings for people who are registered. They pick names there and then send it for trainings that are associated to, the kind of petroleum business that a particular IOC is working on. For instance, I think the act setting up that NCDMB stipulates that if any of these IOCs is carrying out any new project, they have to train Nigerians on the basics of that project, both during installation and post installation. So when I registered on that platform, that was when I got my first hit in the oil and gas industry proper. So I got the training with one of our major IOCs then, SPDC. I like to call that name SPDC. So it was sponsored by NCDMB. So that was where I realized that you can actually get into the oil and gas industry through this platform. You don't necessarily need anyone to hold your hands to pick it there. So I recommend it to every other person. So I was on that platform. I got trained as a process engineer, and then proper, and then process design engineer rather, and then also had another training from the same platform again for workover rig with Nigerian Hydro Oil Company as at then what it used to be, right? So that is how I got my first into the oil and gas industry. And then I realized that, okay, there are so many things you can do as an oil and gas, as in the oil and gas industry. You do not, the challenge people have, my perception is this, right? We come out from the university and we think in Nigerian university, let me put it that way, and we feel we are already prepared for the industry. 99% or 98% of the time, this is my perception, that you are not even ready for the industry, right? So this platform, like the Nordic Oil and Nordic AQS, would help you get trained with the necessary tools. So my recommendation would be, okay, get the necessary tools, get the mentor, get the necessary tools that to equip yourself, because when you get into the industry, it is a different ball game. It is not that the YDX you used to do in Ofrima or what have you, right? It is a different ball game. So when I finished from there, while I was still there, I wanted to build myself around safety, right? So the AGIP training pro package gave me a hinge on international, that's IADC, right? And then World Safety Organization training, and a couple of other trainings, right? In that period, I said, okay, it would be better for me with all the certifications. I also have a master's degree, so that when I'm running up with this, I have a master's degree, a double decker for me. At least anywhere I'm applying, it will be a big hit, because there are 1,001 persons who have the basic university certificate that we have. We are a million of them. The university keeps churning out a lot of persons with that certificate, right? So you need to actually give yourself a step forward. And I realized that also, that the industry, based on friendship with people high up there, I realized that the industry, right, looks at you and gives you employment if you are trainable. And how they know that you're trainable is your hunger for learning. And how do they identify your hunger for learning? Your hunger for learning is identified by the certificates you have, your desire to want to go further.
Mm-hmm.
So if I bring this person, he already has a master's degree, even if he may not really be sound in it, but his interest in wanting to go further means if I put him, he would learn. So that's what I learned early, and so I had added up those master's degree, and then I was running all these safety trainings, including NEBOSH, including project management, Prince 2 Azelos, right, from UK and UK certification and all of that. So during that period, I got a friend shared with me a link to Chevron Nigeria graduate trainee program, graduate internship. So when I think somebody sent it to him, and he wasn't doing masters as at then, so he knew he was my colleague in the NCDMB training. So when he shared it with me, right? I registered, and then after registration, I thought, oh, normal Nigerian mindset people always have until you know somebody. But again, I've developed myself above beyond that point that as I applied and I have everything for my application to be successful, it means I can be shortlisted. So I was shortlisted, and after being shortlisted, we had an interview. In fact, I think the interview I was on the way to school, right, for a class then when the interview was scheduled for. And while I was in the bus, we had the interview. Everywhere was noisy. So I was on the move and I was on the interview. So they had to tell me, oh, okay, hold on, we'll get back to you. Maybe when you're in a more safer place. So you can see how even in the industry, I didn't have anybody. I don't even have anybody in CNL, right? I didn't have anybody in any of this oil and gas that could hold my hand as people think. But I always believe that if I have the right tools with me, which is if I have the right learnings, if I've shaped myself with the right knowledge, with the right maybe softwares, I know all of them, then wherever that need arises, if I apply for it, I think I qualify for it. I don't believe in, oh, you need to know somebody. So people should kill that mindset. People should drop that.
I'm going to hold you there because I'm interested in this very conversation. This is something I've been working on with a couple of people, especially my
Okay.
Nigerian friends, mentees, and just my Nigerian people. And so it's like a very funny mindset, and it might be true to an extent, but this is my belief as a person, and also my experience is that even if a job opens, what most people just sit back and assume that, oh, that job, they've already shared it to the governor's children, the senator's cousins, the House of Representative members, nephews and nieces. So me, my father is nobody, my mother is nobody, nobody knows my village. So no need to even submit my resume, those kind of things. So I'm
That is just
interested in
rejection.
in that part. So what is the reality, in the oil and gas industry? Because I think people will be interested in this reality, because people just presume, people just sit by and see someone in Shell and they're like, oh, maybe his father was in Shell. Was your father in Chevron? Or tell us the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Okay, so no, I don't have any. Prior to that period, I never knew. I don't even know anybody in Chevron prior to that period, right? So after the intent, I mean, after the what do you call the interview, so they required a letter from my department to actually, I mean, attest that I'm actually a student in University of Port Harcourt doing my masters. And so they sent a letter. I think the HOD didn't reply in time and all of that. So I had to go check, ask on him that I got a message that I need to send my letter of attestation from the HOD. And so the HOD now responded. That was when he now checked his mail and saw that there was an email sent to him before he replied. And then I had to resume on that internship. So I don't have anybody, I didn't have anybody in CNL, right? I don't have any relative, anybody in CNL to say, oh, this is the person that guided me. No, everything was purely merit, right? So there is room for merit. And the oil and gas industry is not your uncle's industry. It's not a village man industry. So it is a global industry, right? And the people, the major investors in the oil and gas industry, they don't think they are looking out for who will do the work and do it perfectly. They're not looking out for whether you know an uncle. However, I'm not taking away the fact that in our climate here, there could be such influence of, oh, maybe a senator, maybe I don't know that. Possibly it could be there, but that's beyond my ability to tell, right? But of course, there could be such influence in. I mean, but for me, I have this mindset that the IOCs, right? They are most of them are not they are not even Nigerians, right? The investors. So they don't care who your uncle is. What matters to them is, are you fit for purpose? Are you fit for that job? Do you have the technical skills required? Right? Okay, come and prove it. Come and interview with other persons. And even if your uncle has to refer you or hold your hands or say, okay, this is my son, my child, they still need to put you through an interview. They will still test you and all of that. So it's not just a stroll in the park in the oil and gas industry. So let people take away that mindset that you need to have an uncle. No, you need to have a senator. Your great grandfather needs to be the used to be the CEO of whatever you call it. So that is a wrong mindset. And the IOC doesn't operate that way. I can tell for a sure, well, true that the IOC doesn't operate in on the carpet of your uncle or your grandfather. No.
Thank you. I have a question for you, but let me just give a shout out to like all people that are able to join us live. I can see like your comments. And actually, if you are joining us live, feel free to like put your question right there. I'm going to throw it to our guest here and then he will be able to answer. And just to also say that whatever we are sharing here is not, it doesn't represent our employer. We are just sharing our own perspective. It doesn't represent any of our employer. I just wanted to put that out there. So, but feel free to put your questions there and then we'll address it here. The next question I have for you, Uduak, is how does the use of platform or how did it and how is it still influencing your career? The use of platform like LinkedIn, maybe other job search platform like Job Hunter, Facebook. I don't know if Facebook they get jobs there, but I know that LinkedIn is principally about professional, professional relationship and job search. LinkedIn. Let me just talk about LinkedIn, maybe any other platform. So how has that influenced your career and how would you recommend people use that to also, influence their own career? That's my question for you right now.
Okay, so let me answer that question by saying if you are a football coach and you want to pick a player, all right? For me, if I'm a coach and I want to pick a player, I think one of the things I would test the person is when was the last premiership? What is your club? You tell me, oh, maybe it's Chelsea. But if you don't even know what a club is, right? It means you're not even visible in the soccer space. I don't know if you get that. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, LinkedIn is something that anyone who is career oriented or business, corporate business or professional business, well, there could be other platforms, right? And Upworks and all of that. If I check your profile on LinkedIn and I see that you're not even on LinkedIn, I won't take you serious as a career person. Yeah, so let me hit this. LinkedIn has even helped me in the course of my work so far, right? I've gotten heads up from different organizations across the globe. One in Texas, that was February last year for the road I'm calling. I mean, reaching out that, oh, your CV is, your LinkedIn profile is impressive. Would you like to come over with the contract stuff? I've gotten like three or four. So LinkedIn it's something that we shouldn't, anybody who's looking for a job shouldn't look away from, right? In fact, also in LinkedIn, let me also tell you how LinkedIn shapes me. I look at somebody's profile on LinkedIn and it motivates me. I'm like, okay, this is the lead process engineer in XYZ organization. And then I want to go through the person's profile, see his certifications, see his skills. Those skills, I start working on myself on it. So that is me mentoring myself. I'm using somebody as a ghost mentor to mentor myself. So I look at his profile, look at where the person has worked, and I say, okay, I don't know this one. I need to go and learn this software. This is where I want to get to, right? Because that person has the picture of where I'm going to. So LinkedIn is the best. It's one of the. I'm not advertising for LinkedIn, but as someone who is out there looking for a job, want to grow in your career, you need to make your presence, your visibility available on LinkedIn or on any of these other career platforms, right? You need to make yourself very available there. A lot of I've had testimonies of persons who have gotten jobs via profiles on LinkedIn without it. I've been contacted severally within in country and outside of Nigeria. I've been contacted even as at 2 months ago. I was in okay, I shared this. I was called by a CEO of one of the power plants in Nigeria. So I like your profile and I fell in love with it. And the fact that you have a mix of government related experience in the, when I said I worked with
The
the
Senate
Nigerian Senate
committee. Yeah.
politics, right? And then I also added all my leadership wins during my secondary and university days, right? And then currently where I am. So when they look at it, so you have a good mix of people here, you have a balance of it. I would like you to come over to my organization. We had an on the spot interview, right? But again, that was pushed aside. Of course, you know maybe why that was pushed aside. So
Perfect.
LinkedIn is highly recommended, and any other. career development or career visibility platform, you need to be there. You need to be there. If you're serious about your career, then that is the platform. It's just like you say you want to be a medical doctor and you that's be there. And then you need to get yourself updated. You need to get yourself challenged by other people's profiles, right? You need to also, there are several platforms even under LinkedIn. There are LinkedIn learnings. You can also learn under in LinkedIn as well. So you can also develop, I mean, you can also multitask, more or less, like build other career apart from your primary career areas. You also build up other skills. Like me, I'm interested in data analysis, right? Some persons data science, some other persons maybe several other things like programming and all of that. So it also inspires. You see somebody who is in the petroleum industry, but he's already is a programmer. Why won't he be fit for the job? Because the industry wants to, these days of cost savings and cutting costs, they're looking for someone who has a good knowledge of tech and the primary career path he's going in, so that they can maximize his knowledge and his experience and his skills, and that's what the industry is looking for. So LinkedIn is highly recommended,
Thank
or
you.
any other career.
Thank you. Yeah, that's, I like the way you put it. I mean, my last two jobs, yeah, they came from LinkedIn. Like, I'm very active. It's probably like majorly the most my most active platform. Like, I just saw it on LinkedIn, went through the
Okay.
application process, and the rest is history. And from time to time, I have folks reaching out to me. Oh, we saw your profile, blah blah blah, and I'm not interested. But that's a sign that, oh, people are seeing you and people value what
In
you
your
have put out there. So that's a message for people joining us or people that will listen to this. I want us to talk about mentorship, how it helps in the industry. But before then, let me ask this question. I was in a conversation with my friend who is a software engineer, and I'm telling him, oh, you can apply to as a software engineer in NNPC in any of this oil and gas industry. And then I noticed that people have this mindset that maybe as a software engineer, you can only apply to a fintech company or to a tech company. So it's like it's a problem too. People don't know that your skill can be needed in any way. There are software engineers in Shell, in Chevron, and all of that. So my question for you is this: I mean, both of us have an engineering background, but you have been there in the industry and you have cut across different areas. So my question for you is this: what opportunities, based on your experience and interaction, are you seeing for like people from other primary career paths, maybe people in that study communication in school, or people that are software engineers, or people that have sociology? I know that is there. I know that is there, but some people don't just get it. They think everyone working in the oil and gas industry study
That's a
petroleum
valid
and
point
gas
as well.
engineering. Yeah. So, but let's talk about that before we jump to mentorship. And I'm still
Okay,
waiting
so,
for any
so
question from anyone.
the oil and gas industry is a multidiscipline industry, multi-discipline,
Discipline.
multifaceted industry, right? You have software engineers, you have even security, people with cyber security skills. You also have people in communications, in supply chain management, right? You also have, I mean, apprentice technicians as well, people with just basic technical skills from technical colleges. You also have people in policy and government, so what we call, some organizations call it policy, governance, and public affairs. You know, that is for maybe people who study public administration or businesses. We also have, of course, the leaders in the oil and gas industry, it's management. In fact, growing up, I realized, okay, where I am today, I want to, I don't want to criticize myself, but if I knew what I knew today, right, I think I would have done management or economics, because maybe I would have been a manager. And when you get into the industry with this, based on this kind of backgrounds, you're high up there.
Mm-hmm.
So the industry is open to everyone, even software engineers, right? We have the I&E, department as well. That's the instrumentation and controls. Apart from
Mm-hmm.
that, most of the industries, the IOCs now, or the national ways that is used to automate the processes to make work easy, to gain more value of work done per time. So whether you have a technical background, or you have a programming background, or you studied linguistics, let me say this. Recently, an organization we all know, I mean, in Nigeria here, opened up applications for, I mean, portal for applications, right? And then I shared it with somebody, a lawyer, a lady, and she asked me, what role do I have to play? Do I am I going to play in the IOC? I mean, in the oil in the oil industry. I don't know anything calculation though. I'm like, what do you mean? Go and look at the positions open. You will
Yeah.
see legal there. You will
Mm-hmm.
see communication there. You will see production engineer, petroleum engineer there. You see geologist there. You see supply chain there, right?
Mm-hmm.
You will see a couple of all these. You won't see data analyst there. You will see policy, public affairs and policies there. So, did any engineer study policy and maybe public admin? No. But this is an IOC advertising for it. So, it's a multidiscipline industry, right? And for whatever reason, right? As anyone in the oil and gas industry, I mean, whatever background you have, you can work in the oil and gas industry. Whatever background you have, you can work in the oil and gas. So it's open to everyone. I know people in communications departments, right? In fact, in access control, they could pick anybody from anywhere. They also have security, departments. There are several. Let me say this: most of the courses or the what I'll call it the majors we do in Nigerian universities can find themselves in the oil and gas industry. Yes, so it's open to everyone. It's open
That's
to everyone. That's it. So nobody should limit themselves to the fact that, oh, I didn't do maths in university or I didn't do engineering, so I can't find myself in the oil and gas. Look out for the opening. That's what I will ask. When the opening is out, look out for the openings there. And these days, we even the industry is interested in the skills you have. The skills you have. What are the softwares you can use? Apart from the softwares, what are the certifications you have? You can have a background in public admin, but you have skills. Your skill sets could be in data analysis. Your skill sets could also be in management, depending on maybe you have ICANN, Institute of Chartered Accountant of Nigeria certification, or those certifications. That will now place you at an equal playing ground with people from that background, right? So making you fit for that particular job opening. So don't limit yourself. I mean, everyone out there shouldn't limit themselves to a particular, what I'll call it, mindset that if you don't have an engineering background, you can't be in the oil and gas industry. No.
perfect. The core word is it is open for everyone. If you want it, you can get it. It doesn't matter what you studied in school
Background.
because there are opportunities across different departments and units. And I mean, I'm even a practical example because I did engineering, but I was interested in the management side of oil and gas industry. I didn't want to go to an oil rig. I didn't want to carry equipment. I didn't want to. I didn't want to
You
fly
want to
a
expose
chopper to the
yourself
oil rig. No,
to
that's
the
not
risks
my
of
thing.
being offshore.
Yeah, I figured early that's not my thing. I didn't want to go to the oil rig, go fly chopper. And, no, that was not my thing. I wanted to sit in the yeah, I wanted to sit in the office and then look at document, prepared bids, tender. That's my thing. So I figure, okay, what's the entry level to that thing? It was supply chain management. So I went to work I started first as a business development person in an oil servicing company, and then I worked my way through to supply chain. Of course, my knowledge of petroleum and gas engineering helped there. So, but the point
Helps
I'm trying to make
exactly.
is that even people that did the petroleum and gas engineering can also go to something else. So it also means that you too that did maybe law, whatever, you can also
Yeah,
find a space
exactly. Can also
in
do it.
that same industry. Okay, so let's talk about mentorship. There is something you
Okay.
mentioned when you were talking about your use of LinkedIn, and I'm still expecting question from anyone because we are trying to round up right now. Your use of LinkedIn, which is also what I do. My way of mentorship, especially if it's like a kind of silent mentoring, is like I start from the end and then I come to the beginning. So, for instance, I am in supply chain management now, and I think of who is the biggest person in supply chain management in the area I want to go. I find that person. I just go and look up the person, who is the person, and then I begin, like you said, I begin to look at what skills does this person have, what kind of school did they go to, what kind of certification do they have, what kind of organization are they working for. I just study them, and then I come back. That's from the end to the beginning, and then I come back and then I ask myself, do like a gap analysis. Which one do I have in all
Exactly.
these things? Because it's more like, okay, if you want to get to that where that person is, then this is this, 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 this. And then I say, okay, for this year, let me attack this certification or let me get this master's degree. So let's talk about mentorship. What's your view on mentorship, and what specific role do you think it plays in, helping you build your career so far as a person, and then maybe generally for everyone?
Lovely and beautiful, beautiful question. Thanks again, James, for that. So mentorship, it's a giving, right? Um, I like to put it this way, that the less is lifted by the great. That I mean by someone up there, whether directly or indirect, you have direct mentorship and indirect mentorship, right? Up there, that should show you the path. Go in this way. The Bible says, and you will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk thou in it," which means someone has been through that path
Mm-hmm.
that you want to go through. And if someone has been through that path, it means if you're going through that path, you're working on the knowledge of that person. Where the person's made mistakes, it will be easy for you not to repeat those mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Making your journey faster and even smoother. So mentorship is very important. And I should have added too that I have this love for network and maintaining quality relationship.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, during my internship days, right, one of my lead engineer called me. He had particular interest in me, and I also had one that's very sound engineer, right? So I went to him. I said, I want to be learning from you every week. Can you make out? He said, "Oh, he's an expert." He said, I'll try, but what I will do is whenever I have so many things, I'll push them to you. That's the way I'm going to teach you. I said, fine, that's even what I'm looking for, right? So again, this particular person, I don't want to mention name, right? For privacy reason, because I didn't discuss with him that okay, I would have this kind of
Mm-hmm.
outing today.
That's fine, yeah.
So he keeps telling me, guy, you need to do this. I looked up to him, so I built friendship with him. I built friends, the process engineer, senior process engineer. So I built friendship with him. There were three of them. So I built friendship with people higher than me. I have this cross relationship. I have people top there that I follow, I listen to, I take knowledge from whatever they are doing. I have also people at my same level, right, and people below me. That's the one I mentor. So I have people that are mentoring me up there. There are people that I am mentoring, and people at my level. If I find that you're good, I will come to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So mentorship is very important to grow up there, right? Because that mentorship is one of the ways you maintain good network. Mentorship is a good networking approach. In fact, that's one of the best way to network, by having a mentor. And the mentor can always refer you. And in life today, there's what we call in life today, there's what we call this asset of, recommendation. If
Mm-hmm.
somebody recommends you, you are going on the background of that person's knowledge, of that person's integrity, of that person's exposure and experience. If I recommend you to anybody, the person is going to look at you from my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, you are working, and the person is seeing you, whoever I'm recommending you to is seeing you as someone who knows what I know,
Mm-hmm.
for me to have recommended you. So mentorship is very important. It has helped me in the industry, because how I say it has helped me in the industry is that I still get people, my bosses out there, right? I keep that good net communication with them, right? And when there is something happening, they tell me, "Oh, there's an opportunity here. I think you need to look at it, look at it and see if it fits you, and
Mm-hmm.
then let's see how to take it up from there." Right? So your mentors know more than what you know, and they know a lot of persons in the industry than you already know. So they can hear faster and further than you can hear. So if they hear maybe from their own network that there's an opening here, there's an opportunity here, you are leveraging on their knowledge, you're leveraging on their experience, you're leveraging on their values, on their integrity. Because in the IOC, in the oil and gas industry, integrity is very important. Integrity and honesty is very important. So if someone who has a very great value of integrity recommends you, They're looking at you from the past that, oh, this guy must be very good. He must be a good engineer for XYZ to have recommended him. So while I was also interning, right, there was one at the place I was interning, right, CNL then, they had a global mentorship forum. So you can just log in and then somebody will be nominated as your mentor and then you schedule a time with that person. So it was a lady. She also let me understand that, man, you need to look up for people out there and connect. So simply put, mentorship is connecting with people of higher value than you
Thank
to
you.
learn from them.
Thank you. Yeah, we're about to round up now, but I see we have a question here. So I think it's best we address that question before we round up. So
Okay.
Skin Matter says, good evening. I am really following up and I feel very much, I'm very much challenged. Please, is there a particular channel on LinkedIn where one can drop credentials? Please suggest and throw more lights. I mean, I will just allow you to answer that question. Yeah.
Okay, and skin matters. Thanks for this wonderfully put question, right? Um, I don't think there is any, I mean, from my own experience, I don't think there is any particular channel on LinkedIn where one can drop credential. However, most of the applications I see most of the openings on LinkedIn are easy apply. That's what they call easy apply. The moment the opening is there, you click on it, it almost pops up. I mean, it pre-populates all your data, your profile from LinkedIn into the application portal, and then it's easy for you to just click on. So your only channel is your visibility. And how do you make that channel great for you? When you see comments from industry experts, like it, comment, add a voice, ask question, you throw your visibility. That's the only way you can put your credential out there. Because the moment you comment on something, most of the times, even on maybe on your Twitter and this thing, most of the time the person comes down to your profile to look at you. So in that order, you have done what? Put out your credential, right? So
Perfect.
that's one of the ways you can put out your credentials out there for any opportunities. And when you see opportunities, even if they are not related to you, click on like, or somebody puts a comment, like it, go through the comment, ask questions. But there are several subgroups in on LinkedIn, right? There are groups for maybe NNPC, there are groups for several IOCs, there are groups for data analysis, there are groups for supply chains. You can join any of them. And that way you're also putting your credential out there.
Good answer. Yeah, I mean, that
Maybe I hope
answers
that's
it.
something else to add.
Yeah, it's really about your visibility. And you can also like set up like a job notification. If you go to your job session on LinkedIn, you can like set up like a notification for LinkedIn to
Open to work.
notify you when there is a particular job opening on so XYZ, career, so that way you can just go and apply. Perfect. And my
And
last question for you. Okay, go ahead.
sorry to add, you can also leave your profile as open to work.
Correct. Yeah.
If you set that as open to work, employers will know that, okay, this person you're open to, even if you're currently in a particular organization or you're currently working, you are still open to any other opportunity. So that is another way of putting it. But when you block that up, right, that's a different thing. Some people
Yeah.
you're not even up there, but you're cooperating. Your profile is locked. Somebody cannot drop a message for you. That's also a wrong way to be on LinkedIn. If you're, except maybe you're an employer and you don't need a job. So make yourself open.
Yeah, open your DM in
Exactly. Open
summary.
your DM up for messaging.
Yeah. My last question for you. I mean, not really a last question. So, what's like your final thought, word of advice, comment for every young professional out there trying to find their feet or still navigating the process? What would you give as your word of advice?
Okay, so my word of advice is, right, keep applying. One of the first thing I'll tell you is some people just apply 2, 3 days and say, oh, I've been applying and nobody has called me. I mean, I've not been invited for interview. You should be turning out. One of our professor in the University of Port Harcourt, he
Sorry to
was
cut
formerly a
you. I applied
professor.
400 last year and this year 200.
You apply. So if you can apply 400 last year, there how much more persons who are just fresh from university? And a lot of people see it as a tax. But job hunting, I was meant to understand that job hunting is a skill. So build that skill. of job hunting. One, that's the first thing I'll ask you to do. Build that skill of job hunting. Secondly, get the necessary certifications and skills. Industry is not for what you learned in school. Those things are too basic. I don't even see universities. There is really no connect between the university and the industry, if you ask me, especially in our climate here. Because some of the times when you are in a particular university or you're studying a particular course and it's time for you to go for your industrial works, you have to start applying. Why so? If there is a connect between the university and the industry, by the time you're in year four, the industries will come and pick you guys, or the school will just send you guys directly.
Yeah.
But you have to apply. So there is no connect. So you have to build that connect. And how do you build that connect? By being highly searching for knowledge and certification. Before I would invite you for interview, I would meet you by your CV and by your certifications. So if you don't have the right skills, if you don't have the right certifications, you might apply for 1,001 and you will not be called. So before any employer meets you, you need to meet their need. Before you are met, you need to meet their need. That's what I'll put it. So meet their need by adding that value to yourself. So go for certification, very important. Invest in yourself, invest in your knowledge. It can never be wasted. No knowledge is waste. That's one thing I got to understand. So invest in yourself. Let me say this, sir. While I was still an intern, I mean, getting the job, the money I was being paid there was mega peanuts, right? By just applying for masters, I don't think my school fees for masters, I mean, from Nigeria standpoint, was 160 something thousand then, right? Everything add up together, maybe 200K, right? 200,000 naira. But the job I got as a result of that masters I did, which gave me that internship,
Yeah.
paid me about 5 times or 3 times, let me say 3 to 5 times more than what I was getting previously because I added 200,000 to my knowledge, to myself. And that gives me that value, more than that value a month. Now imagine if I have a PhD and I'm a consultant. So I'm not looking at it from the money aspect and from the reward aspect, right? But I'm saying that that is how it kicked me up in the career, my career path. So
Mm-hmm.
I would advise everyone to get the necessary skills. Look on LinkedIn, look at one somebody's profile you admire, get those things that the person has gotten. That's what I would advise. And then apply, application, keep applying until you get the right one. Don't stop. Even while you're the one you have, keep applying. Let me say this, right? Employers will not be sentimental. If there is a need for the company to downsize, they will drop you,
Yep.
right? And if you do not have the right skill, you might find yourself struggling. Oh, I put in all my best time and all of that in the organization, and then they are downsizing and they are dropping. That is management. I mean, managers are paid to hire and fire, so that's their job, right? So you have to make yourself available by adding the right values to yourself in terms of certifications, in terms of going for courses. Apart from that, seminars are also important. That's where you network. I want to also add that you need to have a very good net worth for you to increase your net worth, right? So build that network by attending seminars. Build that network by having the right mentors. That's another way to network. Build that network by looking out for people who are sound in your area. They could be your colleagues in the office. Learn from them. Learn from. Keep learning, and until you keep earning more, don't stop learning more.
That was a banger. That was a good landing. And the last tea or coffee. Tea or coffee.
Tea
Which
or
are you?
coffee?
Are you tea or are you a coffee? If you were to choose.
Okay, coffee.
All right. Okay. Mr. Udo, thank you very much for your time and thank you very much for all the insights you've shared. I really appreciate making our time to chat with me and with us here today. And big shout out to everyone that made our time to join us here. And thank you for all the interaction and all the questions. And feel free to like share this after this live session. You can share with your friends that you think this information is going to be helpful for them. And we will meet again. And I hope that you can always make our time to come here again and then talk about. There is so much more to talk about, and we'll always make our time to
Yeah, yes,
come here
yes,
again.
yes. There's so much to talk about, and then I'm also open to give those values. I know I've built myself to a great level that I mean, even if it has to do with management, it has to do with business, it has to do with career technically, right? I mean, we can always discuss. And I like the work you're doing, sir. I mean, let's keep this up to make people out there coming up and understand that they don't need to self-reject themselves before a job, the employer rejects them. You need to
Yep.
understand that certain mindsets you need to build the mindset. And when you, I want to leave everyone with this comment, right? If you're the best mechanic, that's what we call mechanic, car repairer in your neighborhood, even your enemy will patronize you. Even
Mm-hmm.
people who don't like you, but so go and be the best, and everyone will come looking for you. The job that even you're looking for will come to you, right? Be the best in that area. Choose a particular area and create knowledge, value for it. Mean build yourself in that area and become an expert. Don't just be jack of all, master of none. Master a particular area, be an expert in that area. Then you can add knowledge on other aspects, and then you see yourself going higher and higher. So that's what I do. I add value to myself. I make sure that every year I learn and add more certifications, even if it might not be industry recognized certifications, but then it could be on LinkedIn. So I recommend all these learning platforms, Udemy, Coursera, and all of that. Create a value for yourself by creating a time, let's say 30 to 1 hour every day, or maybe 3 hours a week to build on yourself. The social media platforms, rather what I'll call the LinkedIn and all of that, and maybe your learning platforms like Udemy and others, they are there to guide you. They are there to even make you know what you would have learned in the industry. So why not use that time at your comfort and learn it? That's my
Thank you.
advice to everyone.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.
having me.
And have a beautiful day ahead. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
All right.